Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Haven Falls After Show. As always, I'm the creator of Haven Falls, KCS Hutchison, and I'm here with my co-host, our very talented associate producer, Galen Roberts, and we are back to discuss our second episode ever, Pick a Side. So today we're taking you behind the mic of yet another exciting chapter of the series. We'll also share some before told stories, recap the latest episode, and give you a look at what's ahead. And as you can see on your screen here, we're joined by the lovely, the talented, the one and only Elizabeth von Isser, who brings to life the devious Dr. Catherine Hale. So before we dive into everything, let's check in on this amazing panel. Elizabeth, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
Oh, I am terrific, Casey, and I am so happy you asked me to join you. This is going to be so fun to dive into episode two. Oh my gosh.
I think so too. And of course, our very lovely Galen. How are you?
I am great. I'm really excited to talk about this one as well because there's one part in particular that I'm just itching to get to. So,
Well, I mean, before we dive into it, Elizabeth, I just have
Mhm.
some questions that I've been dying to ask you. And as we went about this part and as we have gone about taping these episodes and whatnot, I think that this most certainly differs from anything that you have played out that I've written before. There was Beverly on Everyday Women. There was, of course, Elaine on Forever and a Day, which you were an original cast member of. You stayed for the entire run of the show. You were in the most episodes of Forever and a Day. Like, I mean, just an insane run. And you and I have worked together now for 6 years, which is pretty
Right.
crazy to think about. Um, how does Catherine differ for you, though? I mean, I came to you with this part, and I'm so beyond blessed that you accepted it. But how is it different from Beverly and Elaine for you?
Well, first of all, I want to say it was really kind of cute when you approached me about taking on this role because I think you were a little concerned that I might not want to take on a character that was that naughty. And I mean, because Catherine is very different from Elaine Harper for sure. I mean, Elaine was the mother with a heart of gold that battled addiction, that had an errant husband, and then there's Catherine. And I, the minute you told me about the character, I thought, oh my gosh, absolutely, I want to do that. Please, please, please. Yeah, it has been so much fun to play someone who, well, you know, is a little naughty.
She definitely is. And I will never forget when I was coming up with Haven Falls last winter. And one of the first people I told about the project was our dear friend Emmy Morgan, who
Mhm.
co created Everyday Women with me. And we got to write that amazing part of Beverly for you. And she helped to craft Elaine's later stories with Candace Mack and I. And she was like, "So who do you have in mind for this role of Catherine?" And I remember saying, "I'm not sure if she'll go for it, but I really want Elizabeth." And I thank God you went for it because you are so incredibly delicious for this role. You are
Oh,
just
thank
so,
you.
so good.
It is so much fun.
Well, and I think Galen and I have had a lot of fun listening as well.
yes,
Good, good. I hope our audience does too.
I have no
Hope
doubt
so.
that they will.
So, Liz, this journey, you and I have been working together for many years, and
Mhm.
I really just am in love with your backstory, which I know you and I have talked about your backstory and how you got into acting now for quite a while.
Mhm.
But for our listeners who may not know, and even those who heard you on Forever and a Day for so many years may not know, how did you get into acting? Because this is one of my favorite stories when you tell it.
Well, I always wanted to be a performer. And in high school, I really wanted to go into Broadway. I wanted to be a Broadway actor. And my parents, lovely, lovely people, told me that that's an idea, but if you would like us to pay for your college education, we think you should go into engineering like your dad and your brother. Like, well, I don't want to have to pay for my own college education.
Exactly.
So I did. And I was always, I was always pretty good at math. I was good at drafting and drawing and things like that. And so I did. I went to school. I got a degree. I got a job with an aerospace engineering company. I worked as a manufacturing engineer for a number of years. I met my husband there, so it wasn't all a loss. But I always wanted to perform. So even when I was working, I was still performing in community theater and getting that acting bug sort of, um, you know, taken care of for me. And I ended up, I stayed at home. We had a couple kids. I decided to stay at home with my babies. I raised my babies till they went to school and then went back to work as an engineer. And then once my kids were heading into their teenage years, I decided I didn't want two boys home alone without supervision. So I left and decided to take up my passion, which was in the arts. So I started acting in earnest and started taking roles with student films. We have a wonderful film school here. I'm in Tucson, Arizona, so the University of Arizona has a wonderful film school. I started taking on those roles and getting experience behind the scenes, and I was the lead of our drama team at church, and one of our one of my team members was a film actress, and she was also a flight attendant. And she had gotten called out. She had been hired to portray a news anchor in a film that was being shot in Tucson, and but got called out, and she convinced the director and producer that she knew somebody who could jump in and take the role. And when she asked me to do it, it freaked me out because I had never done film at that point. I'd only done stage work. So I thought, okay. And so I jumped in. I had about 20 minutes to learn the lines, and I sat down and did it. And it was such a rush. I thought, this is what I want to do.
20 minutes is
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was about a paragraph, so it wasn't too bad.
But still,
But
to get that in the brain. I mean, like
right.
I I write a lot of dialogue for you guys, but heaven forbid, I don't think I could ever memorize what I write for you guys. So
Well,
my hat's
and
off
it
to you and all of our casts.
it turns out when I watch the film, I'm on screen for about 2.5 seconds. So, oh well,
The nature of the beast, right?
that's right. That's right. But it was a great experience, and that's what made me want to pursue film. And then with COVID, it's like, how do I do this? How do I keep doing this? And I started, you know, taking voiceover classes and seeing what I could do with voiceover. And I was so fortunate that you found me and reached out and asked me if I wanted to join Forever and a Day. So, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but here, I'll turn on my other lights. Here, I don't know. Can you see our award?
Oh, our ISA. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. We won that award for best ensemble cast. So
yes,
that was
we did.
cool. Yeah.
we beat out a show that starred Lisa Kudrow, so
Yes, we
we
did.
forever hold that title. We love Lisa Kudrow though, a
Yes.
comedy legend. Um, well, let's dive in to this crazy episode. I mean, only episode 2, and we're hitting Fallout after Fallout right away.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
in episode 2, Pick a Side, the fallout from Patrick Callahan's assault on Victor Hale has sent shockwaves through Haven Falls. At the police station, the Callahans scramble to keep Patrick out of jail while Victor weighs whether to press charges. Meanwhile, old wounds resurface as Catherine and Victor's troubled marriage continues to unravel, with accusations of betrayal and lingering resentment taking center stage. At the hospital, newcomer Helen Rollins has a mysterious encounter with Hannah Brooks, leaving Hannah convinced there's something strangely familiar about her. Laura and Lucas are forced to put their wedding plans on hold when they learn about the fight between their fathers, reminding them just how deeply rooted the Hale Callahan feud really is. Eileen confronts Victor in an emotional showdown, pleading with him to let go of decades of bitterness. Moved by her words, Victor agrees not to press charges against Patrick, but his mercy doesn't last long. In the episode's shocking final moments, Victor secretly calls a press conference, determined to publicly brand Patrick as a violent criminal, proving that this war between the Hales and the Callahans is only just the beginning. So, Galen, oh my goodness, so much to unpack here. And I cannot believe how much this episode packs in into 17 minutes. Like, this is a lot that our listeners go through. So, Galen, what did you think of the episode overall?
Overall, I was definitely on the edge of my seat the entire time. Like I was just waiting for the next thing that was going to happen. I was kind of waiting for somebody else to get into a fight, if I'm being honest with you. That was the big thing. I kept feeling like there's some kind of tension in the air. Somebody is about to fight. Somebody's about to I didn't know what was going to go on. I thought there was going to be a forbidden kiss that was going to happen. Like it kept me on my toes.
And then, Liz, what did you think of hearing that episode for the first time?
Hmm. So I'm with Galen. I sort of wondered if there was going to be a real sort of tender moment between Victor and Eileen.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, I think this episode was so revealing in so many ways of the um, relationships between people. Hmm.
Mhm.
I really think it was too, because going in, um, as our cast knows and as Galen knows, I'm very far ahead in writing, very, very far. But I can think back to writing these first 2 episodes. And what was important for me is what I've learned is always with your series premiere, less is more. So, with your series premiere, it's all about hooking in the listener or the viewer, depending on what format you do. And that's really what I wanted to concentrate on that first episode. But the second episode, I really wanted to say, like, okay, the listenership is cemented a little bit. Let's dive into who these people really are. And I think this
Hmm.
episode was so great, like you said, Liz and Galen, about really focusing on the dynamics of everybody throughout the town. How does this feud really work? Learning that this feud goes back to when Patrick hit Victor with a car, which we'll
Hmm.
dive into more as we go through. Um, but I mean, this was just such an important episode. I think this was such a special episode already so early on because we dive into so much. And now, Liz, let me ask
Hmm.
you this. Catherine can't really seem to keep a hold of her man. There's definitely no Tammy Wynette in town to say stand by your man either.
No, no. I think, like I said, I think this episode is very revealing about the relationship between Victor and Catherine. And I think Victor, says something nice, and she says, don't bother
She like kicks it off right away.
save it for when we get home. Oh yeah, you never flatter me at home either, or touch me for that matter. And I thought that really, um, that made me really feel bad for Catherine because if anybody has been in a loveless marriage, you know how painful that is, how difficult that is, how much you desire affection, and to find out that, Victor doesn't even touch her anymore. Um, I think maybe, people will maybe understand a little bit more why Catherine does the things she does, and maybe be able to empathize a little bit with her. I know I did.
Well, now Galen, as Elizabeth, empathizes and defends her character. We learn that Catherine is on her second affair. The pill from the first episode that we heard she was taking is actually a pill addiction.
Mhm.
So, Galen, do you feel any sympathy for Catherine?
I do. I feel like even in her discussion with Victor, it sounded like they both kind of agreed that she was the second choice. Like that was kind of the vibe I got from it. And then, learning that he had the affair with Catherine on Eileen, it was like, okay, so this is kind of like what we settled for is what I got. And you can tell how unhappy she is. So
Mhm.
I do feel bad for her, but I don't know, it's so entertaining. Like I don't want to laugh at her trauma, but I'm glad that she's traumatized because I enjoy it so much.
Oh, well, yeah, you definitely can tell that there's still a lot of, Catherine still has a lot of
Mhm,
jealousy
mhm,
towards Eileen,
mhm,
and that
Yes.
there is still some feelings there between Victor and Eileen, and Catherine knows that.
mhm,
And yeah, that that would be really tough. There's an interesting triangle there
mhm.
that yeah, that's
And
difficult.
and with their
So,
children
Liz, what
being
was it
together, that's really fun.
like for you as an actress to tape the scene of really diving into Victor and Catherine's backstory and all these
Hmm.
layers? What was that like for
Hmm.
you to go up against Frank? And also, what is it like working with our dear Frank
Oh my
DeCoppoulos?
gosh, I am so blessed to be able to work with Frank DeCopoulos. Oh my gosh. Um, I never would have imagined being able to um, spar with him the way we do in episodes to come. And it has been really, really a wonderful experience. He really raises the bar for me. And I can't sit back on my heels and just read the lines. I mean, we need to really bring it, and I think we do. Yeah.
Well, I think you definitely bring it because when you two are on, I know in the best way possible, I'm probably going to need a cigarette after taping. Like, you two really dive into it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, Galen, what did you think of the tender moment between Eileen and Victor? And he like is so warm with her and she's really breaking down to him. And he's like, I won't press charges. And then at the end of the episode, he's gonna hold a press conference instead. He's like such a dirty dog.
Well, he kept his word. He did say he wasn't going to press charges, and he didn't. So that's one point I will give him. I'll get no. Let me stop. When he hugged her, I said, "Oh, she's letting him hug her." I was very taken aback. I said, "Oh yeah." That was why I thought, we're in a secluded part of the of the police station. No one can see us or hear us, and I was expecting, another scandal to come up, but it didn't. I feel like, it was so funny because as soon as he said, I'm not gonna press charges, she was like, really? okay, I have to get back to him now. I was like, oh, I would have thought that she was faking it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I would have thought that the tears were not real, but that's just me. So I
Well,
love that
and
scene.
that had to be a little bit of a knife to the heart of Victor
Yes,
when, you know,
Because I think like
when he's
Diana,
like, okay, okay, I won't press charges, darling. And
and I
she's like,
think Diana
okay, good.
Collins
I'm going
really
back to
played
him.
that so well. Like Diana Collins was such an expert in that scene with Frank DeCoppolis, and it kind of does make you wonder, was she into it or was she manipulating him a little bit? Like,
hmm hmm
Right. Maybe a little of both,
maybe a little
you
of
know?
both.
Yeah, maybe a little of both.
Now,
Yeah.
she certainly had some smoke for Patrick in this episode. Eileen was not letting Patrick off the hook.
Hmm.
And for me, it was so important to, with Eileen and Patrick, I really wanted to dive into not them being the moral compasses of the show, but having gray area where they try to follow a moral compass. I think Eileen really wants to hold herself to a certain standard in life. And I think she does try to remain buttoned up. And I think she tries to, remain such a pillar of the community. I think she really is the pillar of the community in terms of the one that's appreciated, while Catherine and Victor are the pillars of community out of influence and power and money. But
Hmm.
Eileen, to me, Eileen organizes the church bake sales. She volunteers for Vacation Bible School. Like, she really is that person. She's walking down the street, 20 people are going to say hello to her. And so to really, I think it was important in this episode to really do away with that and have her deal with the issues in her marriage. So Galen, what did you think of Eileen really giving it to Patrick? And meanwhile, Julia and Malcolm are trying to be the best law partners in the world and figure this whole mess out from a legal perspective.
I love that. I love that she held him accountable because I think it would have been very easy to just say, well, I'm sure he provoked you. I'm sure, it wasn't your fault. But instead, she questioned, why were you even there in the first place? Because that really is the question of the day. All of
Hmm.
this is because you went to go rub it in his face. And I think that might be why they've stayed together so long is the fact that she's willing to call him out on stuff. And so nothing's left on the table. Just from that one scene, that's what I take from it.
Hmm.
And I love like the firm voice. She wasn't trying to be sweet or soft. And then it was almost like she was hurt at, their him bringing up the past. And I love that scene. I loved it so much.
It's one of my favorites too, and I love how what I thought was really great from a script perspective while I was writing it is, I always start with like an outline that I write, and I try to say, okay, this scene's going to go here, this scene's going to go here. And I thought at the last minute when I was polishing this episode up, what if we transitioned from that scene to the Victor and Eileen scene? I thought it was so important to really get Eileen's kind of continuous point of view and how her identities can switch on and off,
Mhm.
and how that goes into her history. And Elizabeth, you and Diana Collins have worked together multiple times. So, can you
Multiple
tell our
times.
listeners a little bit about that relationship in real life?
Yeah. So Diana and I worked together on Forever in a Day. And Diana is in Tucson, Arizona. So when I was casting a feature film that I wrote, I reached out to Diana and said, would you like to audition for one of our roles? And she killed it. She really, really did an excellent job. And it was so fun to, it was this whole Forever and a Day family kind of a thing, And so it was so fun to be able to work with her in person because we had only worked together, over the computer basically.
With our
And
videos off and
right, with our videos off. So we have better Wi-Fi signals or whatever. And So it was really wonderful. She's an excellent actress, and she really brought it to her role. She's a bank teller who gets attacked in the film Kate Hugo, Murder After Mayhem, coming to your streaming services this fall.
So get into kind of our central super couple, which is featured in this episode. It is actually their first scene together for the characters of Lucas and Laura. And, like we mentioned in the recap, they're doing their wedding plans, they're discussing how they're going to bring their feuding families together. And then, boom, Laura gets the call that her father assaulted Lucas's father. And this is, I think, really huge because this couple is fighting to stay together, to be happy, to have this wedding. So, Liz, I mean, the incredible Jeff Branson and the
Mhm.
amazing Christina Sullivan, they play the tentpole super couple, Romeo and Juliet. What were your thoughts on their first scene heard together in this forming of their relationship?
Right. I tell you what, thinking back on my own wedding and wedding planning, I cannot imagine being put in that position. I would be really ticked off at my father and his father. It's
Yes.
like, what are you doing? We are in the middle of trying to plan our wedding. Can't you keep it together just for a while?
It's like they're acting like two schoolboys, having
Yes.
these fights on the playground. And I think what's really great about this scene, though, and the Julia and Malcolm scene, is we now see full force after hearing about it in promos and a little bit in that first episode. We see that that feud has now impacted the next generation. And I think Lucas and Laura are really trying to fight to not have it impact another generation.
Mhm.
Um, but, there's constant roadblocks like this.
Right, right. Well, and I feel sorry for Laura that
Yes.
that she's gonna have such an awful mother-in-law too. I mean
Ah,
I mean, I called her a yeehaw
agriculture,
agriculturalist.
which I want like on a t-shirt or a coffee mug or something. Like I think yeehaw, like that's just that was one of my favorite lines. And I had played around with that line. Like I had a whole list of things. Like I was sitting there with my notepad and my pen just writing down an insult. And I was like, wait a second.
Oh, poor Laura.
I know. Poor Laura. Oh, and
I
Mhm.
poor
don't I
Christina
don't feel
Sullivan.
that bad for Laura, if I'm
You
Oh,
honest.
don't?
I
Tell
don't,
us.
wow.
because Laura knows what she's getting into. And it almost
Ooh.
feels like she's doing it intentionally because everyone is telling her not to. So it's like the more
Oh.
stuff keeps coming up, the more she's fighting and resisting. And I'm not saying she doesn't love him. I just wonder how much is love and then how much is rebellion. So,
Oh,
Because, yeah,
yeah.
I mean, her dad in the first
interesting.
episode was all about like being
Mhm.
against it, and she did not listen.
Mhm.
She stormed off.
And she forces, that's the other part, is like she tries to force them to be happy. She tries to make them. So I don't know, it could be like her way of trying to mend things as well, so that may be like on a subconscious level. But the way I read it sometimes is like, you're gonna be happy for me and you're going to like it, and it's like, they don't like each other, this, and you're still
Exactly.
choosing to. So yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, that's an interesting
Mhm.
take, Galen. I can see that now. And I can I can think back to like when I was in high school and parents would hate a guy I was dating. Well, that's the guy I wanted to date.
Well, of course.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, it really, now I need our listeners to weigh in on this. I'm like,
Hmm.
do you agree with Elizabeth's take or do you agree with Galen's take? I need to know. They're going to have to drop some comments.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Now, I think, this was such a wonderful episode. I think the third episode is going to surprise a lot of listeners. But as we wrap things up, Elizabeth,
Hmm.
tell us your thoughts on the ever so mysterious Helen Rollins.
Yes. Helen has come into the picture in a very mysterious way. Why does she want to work for Hale Manufacturing? What are her qualifications? What is she doing in town? How did she find out about the job? Why is she just so interested in kind of ingratiating herself into this whole mess? And yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to find out Helen's story.
And do you think Hannah actually knows her?
I wonder. I wonder. It's funny. Is there some sort of, I don't know, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
And
And
can I
then
just say that I love the way Catherine hates Hannah? I like that's the thing that tickled me the most. That I was like, I enjoyed that so much. Like Catherine hates Hannah, and you can tell from the way, even when she was like, "Have a seat," and Hannah's like, "It sounds like I did something wrong." I don't know. It's just something so funny about that, and I can't wait to see what happens with their relationship because it's either gonna get really bad or it'll improve.
Well, it's like Hannah is this fly that keeps buzzing,
Hmm.
she's like the
bothering me.
mosquitoes in the summertime.
You
She
know,
just
it's like, get out of here.
Oh my gosh. That's, interesting how their relationship will proceed because so far, yeah, I mean, Galen's right. Catherine does not like that girl. Like,
No.
oh my
Quit
goodness.
interrupting me, Hannah.
Right. You and Ashley Stewart crack me up. You both are so brilliant, and I love your guys' scenes together. I think they're a
Mhm.
hoot. Well, Elizabeth, we have enjoyed having you so much, and I want our listeners to keep up with the amazing work you do, not only on this show, but across so many mediums. So, where can our listeners find you?
Well, if they go to elizabethvonisser.com, that will tell them everything I'm up to.
Very nice. And
Yeah.
Galen, what about you, my dear? You also work across several platforms and mediums, so where can they find you?
You can pretty much find me everywhere at They Call Me Mr. G. That's my kind of signature thing. So you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, pretty much everywhere. MySpace.
Nice. Hmm, Lord. Oh goodness, not MySpace. And you can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, even though I still prefer Twitter, underscore case 1999. And right after this episode ends, which is like right now, you're going to see all the places to find Haven Falls. So stay tuned for that title card, and we'll see everybody next time.
Bye.